television, especially for you, CBC British Columbia.
Hello, I'm Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, from Scotland.
Hi, I'm Mick Jones, a foreigner.
And I'm Rick Wills, a foreigner.
Have you heard the news?
There's good rockin' tonight.
Tonight, the Beatles, Kane Gang, Baltimora, The Arrows, Lionel Richie, ZZ Top, Howard Jones, Bryan Adams, an interview with Foreigner, and we talked to Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, plus Honeymoon Suite drops by to give the answer to their trivia question. All that and much more on Good Rockin' Tonight. If you just tuned in, I'm Stu Jeffries, your new host of Good Rockin' Tonight. If you just tuned in, you would have missed the fanfare. Our first interview tonight is with Jim Kerr of Simple Minds, on tour now and finally reaping the benefits of hard work and a little luck. Their recent and first international #1 hit, Don't You Forget About Me, from the Breakfast Club movie, was originally offered to Bryan Ferry, but he passed it up. The Minds follow that with the new album, Once Upon a Time, and single, Alive and Kicking, both screaming up the charts as we speak. Here's Jim Kerr talking about the reaction to his marriage to Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders.
There was quite a nice thing there because they didn't like believe it. They just thought it was a rumor for a week. The fact that we were on the other side of the Atlantic, the fact that also none of them knew. Absolutely, there was no rumor about it or nothing in the British press. The fact that it seemed so unlikely. I think since then there's been a lot of not quite the truth written. You know, some of the kind of scummier papers have sunk their sort of teeth in, but we know the score. You know, I think one's marriage, the heart of it is very, very sacred. We're not the kind of people who would go out and just spill the beans on everything, although we realise that the kind of lifestyle we do, people want to know. It's people's jobs to ask. But I don't know. You know, she's a girl and I'm a boy, and people get married every single day of the week. The fact that we're in bands makes it much more interesting to other people, not to us. I'm from a very, very close family, so I value families very much. I love children, but, you know, listen, mate, like 6 months ago I wasn't even looking for a girlfriend. so it's all, you know, I'm still on tour. In an arrogant sense, but we're very much big fans of the music that we make. And when other people get off on it, how can I say this? It used to take me by surprise when people didn't like our music. Now when I see how the music is written in a very private sense, when other people get something from it too, it doesn't take me by surprise, but it makes me feel good. It makes me feel that there's people like us around. Well, I suppose what we still have to, the basics has to be good songs. If you haven't got a song which lends itself to, you know, visuals being attached, then it's no good. It's like me giving you a present, you know, a really amazingly packaged present, you know, a nice ribbon on it and all addressed, and you think, God, you've done a good job of putting this package together. You open it and there's nothing in it. I mean, how cruel can you get? And I find that a lot of songs are just, God, I'm sure the people in bands are worried what I think, but I just find that a lot of songs don't lend themselves to it. I like the type of video that is, which works on both levels. It's an art thing, and it's also a promotional tool, you know, like a record. I think people like, you know, Laurie Anderson, David Byrne, David Bowie does spectacular videos, but then a lot of the other ones are like, you know, Coca-Cola ads. Yeah. You know, you've got, you know, girls like these letters you were sending me. Someone objected to the Duran Duran one and stuff like that. I don't know how many more times I can see, you know, a mirror smashing or a glass smashing it into 1,000 parts. As a result, with our last videos, we went, or else is nothing sacred. That's the other thing. Bands, you know, setting up their equipment in front of the pyramids and having it shot at. With our last ones, we went back and we just went to the essence of the song and the band, which is a live band. and we incorporated a concert in Glasgow and some of the kind of scenery around there, as opposed to globetrotting. I've been asked a couple of times to get involved with film. I think music and film and the arts, they're all combined somewhere. But I love what I'm doing just now, and it isn't as if I feel at all trapped by it. I don't even feel fulfilled by it yet. So all the energy I have, I still kind of like focused in this band. And I've seen some people go from music. They think because they've done well in music, they can just act, and some of them end up looking really stupid.
Must admit, I was surprised when Foreigner picked up a Juno for International Single of the Year for I Want to Know What Love Is. It wasn't that they didn't deserve it, it was that the competition. Wow, Wham, Tears for Fears, and Stevie Wonder, I thought it would prove to be too heavy. Such was not the case. They are currently on tour and stopped long enough for Good Rockin' Jean Baudouin to talk to Mick Jones and Rick Wills of Foreigner.
Throughout the band's history, the critics have more or less always dumped on you for one reason or another. Do you feel that they've just not liked you from the beginning for your music, or that they just not listened to your records?
In most cases, I found that our worst critics are actually closet fans of ours. You know, people that have ripped us to pieces in the press have been caught playing our albums in parties and things like that.
It's actually very true.
Wow,
Actually.
hot-blooded. That's a real, you know, that's a classic, you know. And yet, you know, I mean, I have a job to do, but I think that one of the things is that we weren't a band that was built by the press, let's say. We didn't sort of emerge with the press. We weren't sort of, we had done different things in our own ways, you know, but we, as a band, we started off, well, our rise was very sort of fast, you know, and I don't think the press had a chance to feel that they were part of it, you know.
Both of you have seen the many sides of the music industry in your time, the ups and the downs and everything else. Is there any particular advice you could give to an upstart, an artist just trying to break into the field?
Don't give up your day job.
I think you have to be determined to and kind of know inside yourself that you really want to do it seriously, you know, that it's the most important thing in your life, because it really does become, music really is a very demanding thing, you know. You really have to decide that you really want to do it. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm just going by myself, you know, I mean.
No, I agree with you.
I knew that there wasn't anything else in life, you know, there wasn't going to really be, my parents tried to get me to...
Get a proper job.
Get a real job, yeah. But luckily they gave me a year or so to prove myself, and I kind of proved that I could survive, you know. I hadn't achieved a massive amount at that point, but it's just sort of, if you feel it inside, you know, it's like anything, like painting, writing, you know, I think with anything you do, really, sport, whatever, however you feel about anything, if it's a real passion inside you, you know, it has to be a passion inside you.
You'll do it if you really have the willpower.
And you get as much, really, in my experience, you get as much out of it as you put into it.
Could you recount the events again in the studio for the audience of Good Rockin' Tonight about how this whole thing came together with a choir and I Want to Know What Love Is?
Yeah, it was a very emotional experience. Certainly a first, and it was really prompted by meeting somebody that had represented some gospel groups, and we were sort of thinking about, at one point actually, involving somebody like Aretha Franklin, perhaps even on the song, excuse me, doing a duet with Lou maybe, but we decided against that, and we decided to go with the choir thing, and it was an extremely emotional evening when they finally came down to the studio, and they were kind of very uneasy for a little while. They'd never been in the studio.
What was the name of the choir?
It was the New Jersey Mass Choir. they had never been in a studio. They'd recorded a couple of things, but in live sort of situations in theatres, you know. And I'd never been in a studio with 50 gospel singers either, you know, so it was a little bit...
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, they gradually sort of, everybody got to know each other a bit. We were running through the songs, and they were still a little bit uneasy, and that's the moment when they sort of all congregated around in the studio and held hands and said the Lord's Prayer. And a few minutes later, we got into the song, and it was... that was when it all sort of started, and it was just...
It was magic.
It was very emotional, very moving. But I must say I'm very proud of what we've achieved. I think I've kind of myself sort of satisfied myself in certain ways, musically. In my writing, I think I've had a great deal of enjoyment out of seeing things that I've written become, you know,
big,
successful, popular. And it's a cycle. It's been a sort of a cycle which is really very, you know, obviously it's probably going to be the most special part of my life. I hope to carry on and do other things and also achieve things in other areas, but this has certainly been absolutely marvellous experience.
Guy's done good, you know. I knew this guy when he didn't have a penny, and he knew me when I didn't have a penny as well. We've known each other a long time, and I've seen him achieve that through sheer determination. When I was playing with Peter Frampton, he was with Spooky Tooth. I mean, we were both frustrated at the time because we weren't really achieving what we wanted to achieve. And I saw Mick get it together through just willpower and start writing really good songs. And I was in England when the band's first 2 albums came out, and I started hearing foreigners' music. And I thought, he's done it, he's got it together. And I was really pleased. And funnily enough, I happened to end up in the band with him later. It was interesting.
You've played with David Gilmour and Joker's Wild, isn't that right?
Well, that's going back a long way.
Roxy music?
Yeah,
played with
you
Roxy
really got
music
me there.
and Peter Frampton.
Yeah.
Do you feel right now that you're at your creative peak?
Well, I'm very, very happy to be working within this band because obviously it's something you always work towards the big time, you know. I mean, it's all very well having a lot of fun in the mediocre or middle-level bands, but when you get to the major leagues, it's a lot different. And I always wanted that, and I was determined that one day I would do that. That was my dream from when I started playing when I was 11, 12 years old. I always thought I would do it, and by the grace of God, I've got there. But creatively, it's something that comes, you know, it's like when you know when you do something right, you know when you do it well, it's just a good feeling inside. You don't always succeed, but you sure have to try every day to come up to the level of expectation that we all ask of each other, and that is to be your best.